guys, welcome to Brand X Reviews. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a Terminator retrospective and also reviewing the new film. So if you want to see just the review of the new film, go to this time code on YouTube and you will see the video. I'm just going to edit it in afterwards. The time I'm recording this, I haven't actually seen the film. I'm going in a couple of hours to go. So this first part is going to be a retrospective of the other films. Now, I do realise that I did do one of these back in November of 2013, but it wasn't very good quality, and not that these ones are either, but I've got a bit more to kind of add to what I said before. So if you've seen that one, don't sweat about it, because there's going to be a bit more here. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, in the previous video, what I talked about was the films and the DVDs, and at the time I didn't own the Blu-ray, so I'm going to talk a little bit about those and just kind of the films themselves. So kind of starting at the beginning, Terminator 1. Previously I kind of reviewed the first film and said, I don't really see much reason to upgrade to Blu-ray. Well, since then I got a nicer TV basically, and with a lot bigger TV you can tell the quality difference. So Terminator 1 was something that I did upgrade just because I'd heard that the quality particularly of that film was a lot better, and I will actually say that that is the case. The quality difference of the Blu-ray is very much noticeable. The subtitles at the beginning are the ones that we use in the actual film. The old DVD used a kind of a text system that looked like a British teletext or CFAX, whatever we used to call it. I used to think from the 90s, like really bad. Like when I edit like subtitles on my reviews, basically, it looks like that. Might work on my reviews because it's cheap and nasty, but in a film like Terminator, you want it to look the shit, not just shit, which it does in this. It just looks shit. So that was one reason to upgrade to the Blu-ray. Now, usually I get rid of my old DVDs when I upgrade. That's part of the reason why I could justify upgrading them. Sell these and then use the money as a kind of part payment to upgrade. I couldn't do that with this. The reason being, there are extra features that aren't on this that are on the DVD, which is so annoying when they do that. I know I've said this in other videos in the past, and I've talked about other video DVDs. Specifically, there's one called Terminator Other Voices documentary, not included on this. Really not happy with that. There's no reason for it as well. It's Blu-ray, it's a higher capacity disc, it can fit the extra features on. Include it so we don't have to hang on to these. If you're a collector, if you're a completist like me, these things do bother you. So I have to have this. I have to keep hold of this, which is really annoying. But Terminator 1, great film. It was fairly low budget compared to the ones that followed. I don't really know if they anticipated that it was going to be such a big hit, as is the case with so many franchises out there, like Star Wars and Rocky and all these others that are getting filmed still to this day, getting sequels. So obviously they did do a sequel, that was Terminator 2. And again, I upgraded all my films to Blu-ray. So I got this. I did mention this in the previous video that I did, that there are 3 different versions of this film that you can watch. You need like a special, extended special edition access code to access this, and the code is on the back. It's just kind of a novelty thing that they did. There's a kind of a code written there. And it was just a gimmick, basically. It's just like, it's perfectly accessible. You just have to put that code in on the system. So, but the extra features on this are fine. There isn't anything that they missed out. Okay, I'm lying. They missed out stuff. I had to keep hold of my old DVD, which again is really annoying. Why again? Doesn't make sense. Terminator 3, they actually got right. So I'm not lying in this case. They did transfer across all the extra features from the Terminator 3 2-disc DVD onto the Blu-ray, which is the way it should be. Unfortunately, Terminator 3 isn't a great film, so we're not too bothered about that. But at least I don't have to have 2 copies on my shelf anyway. The Terminator Machinima series DVD, which is, I mentioned in the previous review, it's kind of a film, but it's technically a series, but you put it all together, it's one film. They've never released on Blu-ray as far as I'm aware. I don't think there would be that much demand for it. I didn't even, like I said in the previous review, I didn't even know that this existed. If you haven't seen the previous review, what this is, it's like an animated, kind of like cutscenes from a computer game feature where it's set as a tie-in with Terminator Salvation. So it's set 2 years before Terminator Salvation, and it features the character played by Moon Bloodgood, Blair Williams, that's the name of the character. from Terminator Salvation, and she does the voice in this for her character. So it does kind of follow. It's kind of a prequel to Terminator Salvation. Now this, I spoke about in the previous review, Blu-ray only, director's cuts. Why they couldn't release a director's cut on DVD, I don't know. I think it was just, well, I do know it was just to get people to buy the Blu-ray to upgrade. This was a few years ago. And Blu-ray still hasn't really taken off as well as it should have done. You know, it should have been the replacement format for DVDs, not the kind of better, more expensive alternate format. It should be the replacement. Like DVDs phased out tapes, Blu-rays should phase out DVDs. And there's no reason not to, because you can still play your DVDs on Blu-ray players. It's not like your DVDs are going to be useless like tapes were. It's backwards compatible, so it's stuff like that. I just kind of have a moan about Blu-rays now, but it's stuff like that that makes people just think, I'm not going to bother getting Blu-rays, I'm not paying £5 extra for something. But anyway, that's kind of a separate issue. So I'm not just having a rant about just generally Blu-rays. I'm talking about the Terminator ones in particular. They really kind of dropped the ball with a lot of those, apart from the third one. So anyway, so really great film franchise, really great film series. It kind of peaked with number 2 in my opinion. That was really the one of the prime examples of sequels where it's topped the original. There are many other examples. James Cameron actually has 2 in his under his belt for that argument, because also Aliens was arguably better than Alien in a lot of ways. And there are plenty of other examples, like The Dark Knight was better than Batman, and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, the Terminator film franchise, it's 1 and 2, and then there's the others that kind of came after. James Cameron's vision of Terminator is those first 2 films. Now, he has endorsed the new film Terminator Genisys. He didn't direct it. From what I understand, some of the concepts may have come from James Cameron. I haven't seen him say that, but I've read that it was his concept to have an old Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can explain away how he's aged, obviously, and have him as a Terminator by sending him back to like the 60s or 70s and have him age, because his skin is organic, it will age. And that's kind of how you explain. That's how you would put an old Arnold Schwarzenegger in a Terminator film today as a Terminator. And I believe that was one of James Cameron's ideas. I don't know how true that is, but I've read that. So this film, and with his endorsement, this new film, Terminator Genisys, may be something that we can kind of count as a legitimate Terminator 3, if we're not going to count Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines and Terminator Salvation. I don't mind those films. I think they're all quite entertaining in their own ways. I know a lot of people really hate on Terminator Salvation, but I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I like Christian Bale, so he was pretty good in the part. It did kind of stand out differently, just kind of visually in a few of the things. Also, it didn't have Arnie in it. Well, not properly anyway. We had a CGI scene. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So anyway, I'm going to go see this new film in about 2 hours' time. I'm going to come back. I'm going to edit my review of it onto the end of this video. My thoughts going in. I reckon I'm going to like it. I don't think it's going to be as good as the first 2. I don't think it's going to stand up to the first 2. I think it's going to be entertaining in its own right. I've heard that Schwarzenegger's quite good in it, and I can very much see that being the case. I don't think he's going to let us down. I've seen a few clips here and there. I'm not very happy with the scene with the punks from the original Terminator, where the bit where old Terminator walks up to him and says, "Your clothes, give them to me now." That scene, I really think they dropped the ball on that one, because the punks, they didn't even get the haircuts right. I mean, they could have at least got somebody who can act it in a similar way to those original actors, and also just get the haircuts right. I mean, what the hell's with the mohawk and that guy? Brian Thompson, the actor that was in that original one, didn't have a mohawk. Why he does in this, I don't know. You could say it's because he went back in time to like the 70s or whatever, I believe, and that's had like ripple effects, so little changes will be seen here and there. I don't know, but I don't know why they have to change it. Could have just left it alone. And it just looks really goofy, that scene where you see the Terminator running at the old Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. It looks kind of clumsy. The scene starts out alright from what I've seen on YouTube, because they've just kind of CGI'd over the top of the original footage. But then when they're having to kind of create new footage where he's running, it doesn't look right. That original Terminator wouldn't have kind of run like that, just suddenly shot off like he does.
I've been waiting for you.
So yeah, really not very happy with that, the way I've seen it. But the rest of the film, hopefully that's just one scene that's going to stand out like a sore thumb. But anyway, I'm really ranting now. So here is my review. I'm going to edit on to the end of this now of Terminator Genisys.
I'll be back.
What?
Okay, I just got back from seeing Terminator Genisys a couple of hours ago. I've had a bit of time to kind of process what I think about the film. I'm just going to kind of warn you here, there are going to be some heavy spoilers. I'm not going to hold anything back. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you don't want to have it ruined any more than the trailer did, I'm going to get into that too. Turn off now and just come back later on when you've seen the film. Okay, so my initial thoughts anyway. I liked it. I had a good time watching this film. I found it entertaining. There are a couple of moments in the film where I thought it kind of dragged a little bit, particularly when they go back to 1984. It's like, well, yeah, we're kind of just stuck talking a lot now. But I guess in hindsight that was necessary just to kind of see, where we are with everything and how all these characters fit in the new context of the timeline being changed. One thing I guess I will say about it that's a negative, and you could have guessed, I didn't really see that the Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor characters were the same characters that they were in those original films. I just did not buy the connection between the two. It felt forced. It felt like these two people are not the same people. I know you could always make the argument, particularly with Sarah Connor, well, the timeline has changed, so these aren't the same people. But they could have at least kept some of the sort of basic things there. It's hard to do, to be fair. When you recast, the actors are going to be very different. Very different kinds of characters to what we saw. I mean, Kyle Reese in that original film didn't really look like he could handle himself that much. I mean, he was fairly lean, but he didn't seem very strong, physically strong. Jai Courtney, on the other hand, is quite well built. So just that alone. But he did a good enough job. I can't really criticise him for that. Now, as I say, the trailer with the actual the whole spoiler issue. One major thing, and I seem to remember saying this in some of my trailer reviews for this film. Have they ruined the main plot twist in the film by showing that John Connor is the bad guy? Yes, they did. That was kind of a big revelation in the film, about halfway through the film, that you weren't really supposed to see coming, in the sense that you knew exactly what they had done to him. You knew they'd done something to him at that point in the film, because one of the Terminators attacks him as John Connor was going through the time machine. But you didn't know exactly what they'd done to him and like why they'd done it and how they'd done it. You got all that from the trailer, completely ruined. That's what happens when you get a marketing department in charge of this. Did they not consult with the actual filmmakers to see what their vision was of the film before they ruined it? Yeah, they really dropped the ball on that one. That goes down as a prime example now in history of a trailer ruining a film. So I was quite interested to see, have they ruined it? Yes, they have. Because the thing is with that, once you know that, it kind of, the latter half of the film, the concept of it, you get going into the film that's now going to be part of the film. So what was a surprise for you? Not just that John Connor's a bad guy, but now the whole issue of, well, does Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor need to get together now because their son's ultimately going to be a bad guy, so what's the point of them getting together in the first place? All that kind of stuff is now, you knew that going in. So yeah, anyway, I'm not going to harp on about that too much. I did like a lot of the stuff with the future as well. That was something I didn't particularly like with the last Terminator film, Terminator Salvation. As much as I kind of defend that film, I didn't like the fact that the technology in that film was pretty much our present day technology. It was guns and bullets, basically. The kind of weapons that we saw in those first, 3 films, in fairness, the third had it as well. The technology with the kind of phase plasma rifles, you get to see in this film, and it looked really good. The visuals in this film were pretty good, the special effects in the future stuff. So I was quite happy with that as well. One thing that I was kind of concerned about, I guess, with having seen the trailer, Obviously, a lot of the film is set in 1984. Well, I was worried that they were going to spend a bit too much time in 1984 because you're kind of limited if you're going to do that. Plus, we've already seen that era in the Terminator films, so it's good that they didn't spend too long in that. They do go forward in time to 2017, so that brings us into our future effectively as these films come out. It's set 2 years in the future, that whole bit. And the majority of the film plays out through that from that point on. Now, one other thing that I was kind of concerned about as well from the trailer was the CGI Arnie, which I mentioned in the first part of this review. Now, they did a CGI Arnie in Terminator Salvation. The way they did it, in my opinion, worked. It did look kind of stupid, but you only saw it for a few seconds, so it was like, what's the big deal? And this one, I showed that clip before, and the fight itself that I didn't show you, it just kind of cuts out. It looks impressive, don't get me wrong, but it looked very much like, we know that Terminator, how it moved. We remember how the Arnie Terminator moved. It wasn't that he was big and fast and strong. Well, it was that he was strong, but it wasn't that he was fast and everything like that. It was more kind of like an old Frankenstein or maybe even Dracula kind of monster, where they just kind of go very slowly and they'll just keep on coming at you. So it's not like fast moving zombies. It's the slow moving zombies that are creepy. And Terminator, the way he kind of walked, he was very kind of stealthy, whilst not being fast. We knew that's what we identified with that original Terminator from 1984. And so to see that exact same Terminator in this one kind of running and being fast and doing all this kind of stuff, it kind of took me out of it a bit. Let's just put it that way. But it looked good. The actual CGI, it's difficult to CGI humans and make them look real. We as humans know how we move, so we can quickly identify when something's CGI or not. Most of the time, anyway. There are exceptions, but in this one, like I say, it stands out like a sore thumb. It really does. But it was worth it from a story point of view. I didn't mind it. It may have looked stupid, but it served the story. It wasn't the story serving, let's have CGI on it, it'll be cool, and let's write a story around that. No, they wrote the story, and it needed to have the CGI on it, so they had to do that to serve the story. So that, in my opinion, is something that validates it. Because a lot of people, myself included, story. That was George Lucas saying, this is what we're going to do with all this film, all this stuff with CGI, I want to have that in it, I want to have this kind of a monster in it, I want to have that kind of a character in it, and I'll just write a story around that. I'm sure that's not the official, what he meant to do. I know he had a basic story in mind beforehand, but anyway. But in this case, with Terminator, like I say, if you've got a story in mind and CGI is an obstacle, it's a means to an end, it's not the end itself. So anyway, again, rambling a bit there, so I'll get off that subject. Now, one other thing that I thought was really good about this was the J.K. Simmons character. J.K. Simmons, the actor. Some of you may know him from having played J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, which really isn't the best part he's ever played, probably, anyway. That's subjective, but I've seen him in other stuff too where he's really great. I mean, that was a more fun role, don't get me wrong, in the Spider-Man films. But he's a great actor anyway. And he's in this film. And I didn't really know what part he was going to play. Well, he plays the part of a policeman. Remember the scene in that original Terminator where Kyle Reese is getting chased through like a sports clothing shop? And there's a bit where he's being chased by police in that. When this one, he's actually being chased by the T-1000 instead. And there just happened to be some policemen in there. Presumably the same police that were chasing him in that original Terminator film. And one of the policemen dies, another one survives it, but just kind of sees everything. And when they go forward that's back in 1984, so when they go forward in time to 2017, it's like over 30 years after that incident. And that policeman is now an old man, played by J.K. Simmons. And he's the only one that believes them because he saw that he met them back in 1984 and saw everything. So he's kind of got this theory that they are time travellers, which happens to be the case. So his character is really kind of useful. And I thought it was a really nice touch anyway. So now, when I watch that original Terminator film and I see those policemen chasing Kyle Reese through that sports shop, I'm only thinking, hey, that's the J.K. Simmons character. So really nice little touch there. I thought it was really good, and it adds to the original film as well. It's not going to be one of those things where it's ruined the original. It's added to it something really great, in my opinion anyway. So what else do we have? Yes, another point actually, yeah. At the beginning of the film, they said, right, Judgment Day took place on August 29th, 1997, which was, as revealed in Terminator 2, that was Judgment Day. But the end of Terminator 2, when they tried to stop Judgment Day, and you thought they had by the end of the film, the third film kind of said, well, no, they didn't stop it. As such, they just delayed it. So instead of Judgment Day happening in 97, you've just delayed it by 6 years. So it's now going to happen in 2003, because that's when Terminator 3 was made, coincidentally. Well, not coincidentally. And Terminator Salvation, so that was the fourth film, even referred to Judgment Day having taken place in 2003. So it was pretty much part of the continuity. That's when it is. Well, this film, essentially Terminator 5, refers to Judgment Day now as having happened in 97. Now, I don't know whether that means that 3 and 4 are now completely erased from just existence. They aren't canon anymore. Or do they just mean, well, that's when the original Judgment Day happened. So you may have changed the timeline, but it happened in 97 originally, you know. So I don't quite know where to go with that, whether that reference is them trying to say, right, 3 and 4 don't count anymore. What do you think, guys? Post comments. I'd really like to hear just kind of theories about that. There's been quite a few bits in this film that had me kind of scratching my head, but I'm sure it wasn't because they kind of didn't have answers to it or whatever, or didn't have theories. It was kind of bullshitting the way through it. I think it was quite a well put together, quite intelligent plot. Like everything, it's going to have plot holes in it. It really is. It's going to have lots of different ways of looking at it. But I've seen far worse, far dumber movies than this. I think it was a real good effort. You can argue it wasn't executed brilliantly, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite smart. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, which is a positive. 5 is average, 6 is good, 7 is quite good. So, quite a good film. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's my judgment on this. As a Terminator fan, albeit I admit I'm a very forgiving Terminator fan. I liked numbers 3 and 4. I even like that Machinima series movie. Maybe I'm a bit biased. I understand some people have slated this film. I understand a lot of other people whose opinions I respect have said it's quite enjoyable. I agree with that statement. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing it again when it comes out on Blu-ray. I don't have a problem with it. I'll definitely recommend it. In terms of going to the cinema to see it, I didn't get to go see this with my co-reviewer, The Core. He's basically saying he's not too excited about watching it. He's probably going to wait for a video. I would say, yeah, you don't really need to see it in a cinema as such. I mean, it's always great going to the cinema, don't get me wrong. But I wouldn't say, like with this, you need to see it in a cinema. I'd say, you know, if you're not too bothered, wait for DVD or Blu-ray. You'll still enjoy it just as much. It's not all about the visuals and the big sound effects and stuff, although they were great in it. So I'm going to leave it there because I've rambled on for quite a bit now. So that's my review, brandxreviews.com. If you want to follow us for plenty of news, updates and stuff like that, check us out on social media and so on. There's a bit of a video coming up at the end of this where you can follow us. So for now I'm going to leave it there and say thank you very much for watching. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just so you know, for more news, reviews and retrospectives, you can like our page on Facebook, simply called Brand X Reviews. But as well as that, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube via this video. You can also bookmark our website, which is brandxreviews.com, which is pretty much a central hub for everything that I've just mentioned. So check that out and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.